sorry, excuse me, shaving thing is like the aesthetic detailing of you know, all of the complications that can occur and did. Sorry. Oh yeah, wow. Fucking fantastic view. Manner of man. Oh my gosh. It's like, oh my god. In a good way, like, oh my gosh, there is the beautiful, it is beautiful. placement of like, and the positioning of the graves in the background there of the National Graveyard, the National Cemetery, is like, that's like, I see it as a very, for for me, a very appropriate and sort of, a very it's like it's hard to describe the word I'm trying to say. It's very it's a very sophisticated detail, and it's very well approached, and it it sort of say it's fully rectified of what many of the graveyards have to their look, as a sort of patchwork design, if you will, or sort of randomness of some sort. It's hard to kind of quite point out what about it is under achieved aesthetic sort of in within the overall picture of in the overall concept of a cemetery, but it definitely, for what the effect is the right sort of detail to add, and make as precision, and and make as held to an accuracy and impressingly precise. It's a pretty amazing monument. It's it inspires the almost exact opposite of what a lot of other cemeteries sort of tend to inspire, due to like the sort of it's the highly structured, organized tombstone placement is not only picturesque, but the sort of honor that those who truly, put their country before themselves and the like deserve for their resting place and that sort of courage that it inspires and is quite a lasting and paradigmatic of the American contribution to the monument sort of progression in design and precedent of achievement and the precedent of appropriate precedent of redeemed sort of type of final sort of arrangement for a higher sort of level of valor and in all success and achievement in raising a standard for the world in just one's individual efforts with no knowledge or way to gauge or quantify the attainment of that, but just knowing and being honored in that way, an appropriate and respectable accomplishment of that sort of deal, of that sort of part of culture and the cycle are traditions of such regarding those aspects of life or parts of everything. And this is the pet cemetery. Like, I believe that there's a movie called Pet Cemetery. I don't think I've seen it, but what I remember, I think the cover looks something like this. It's like I'm trying to cover the sun from my eyes, cover the sun from the lens, and also hold the camera and use my other hand to hold, like, you know, some clothes from falling out of my bag. Well worth the expenditure of carbon parts. Almost have it. It's almost like there we go. Okay, yeah. So there's and look, woo, my hand is free. Got the whole camera and the lens, and the sun is just wanting to be beaming into my eyes, but it's not. My hand is of not sufficient size to create a shadow for my eyes. Pretty trippy. This is the pet cemetery for, I believe, the pets and the friends and family members of the you know, furry, fun sort of forever inspiring and you know, enlightening into the beautiful mystery and occurrence that is life, life in a greater sense, and the reality that you know, animals are like, they're like us, but they're also like beasts, and like they're like these amazing monster type things when they're huge, and they're these amazing like little, you know, mini monster type things when they're small, and they're not really, you know, aren't easy to like contemplate other than in their essence as a creature of, you know, specific perfection in its design, with tongue and ears and nose shape and body shape and, you know, proportion that all work in pertain into the magic essence of whatever the type of animal it is, and they all have their own specific name and specific type of designation and similarities and uniquenesses and differences, and seeing pictures of them does some, you know, justice to the you know, understanding and experience and contemplation of you know, life, but not there's nothing like, you know, seeing, experiencing, you know, having a relationship with an animal, for when it's, you know, you get it when it's you know, for, you know, first born, sort of when it's newly been emerged from its you know, womb, from its mother's womb, all the way until, you know, it is until it's, you know, in its entire lifespan, or even just part of, and realizing the, like, you know, similarities and characteristic traits and you know, tendencies and attitude and domain of the thoughts of whatever the pet is, or animal is, if it's he isn't specifically kind of talking about pets currently. And without that, it would just be, because I don't find very much, like, I guess, what's the word, adjacency to, an animal of another species, like anything that's similar to what is the experience of, having a pet as a kid. And any more these days, I had pets when I was a kid. I was lucky enough to have parents that found that to be the right sort of idea. And it's it's a cool part of culture, because I mean, it's from the point of view of myself now, not hard to imagine the sort of necessity that would be as easily overseen as it is, incorporated in one's like upbringing and raising, of just seeing and realizing and like having the chance to be a friend of a creature of a whole different species that's got a whole like bunch of very many differences, and then some similarities as well, and gaining a increased point of view and life breadth of understanding there within, and so I can see why they have a cool little graveyard for, or cemetery or whatever, for pets of the families of the army or the station forces at the Presidio, I think is what that is, back there under the freeway. And yeah, it's a little disorganized looking, but I think that's kind of pets like they're a little bit less into the architecture thing, a little bit more into just the natural organization type things. Very unique little aspect of the part of the Presidio there, under the freeway over there. But pretty decent honor to pets. I mean, it's like there aren't a whole lot of huge monuments to pets or animals. Maybe there are, and I don't know. Like, I guess at the Legion of Honor, Joan of Arc is on a horse. That's like freaking awesome. But they not. I guess it goes to show that the monuments to ourselves that are in somewhat such prominence in our sort of list of priorities, if we're just think of what history has shown that are the efforts and gains and earnings of one's life tend to be directed into are a little bit over emphasized, because pets play a fun, cool, pretty large part in our life, but the monument to them is of little necessity because it's more about the existence and the experience in and of rather than the some other sort of remembrance relating detail. And that's cool because that's what pets are sort of like. Also, they're um, nature driven. Live from the Highway 1, the PCH. This is the sand bypass, is what it's known as. Completely over on a whole other side of the city, and is a completely pedestrian-only detour that you have to actually transport to separately, otherwise known as Christie Fields Beach. This might be. Okay, so there's Hyde Street Beach, I believe, way over there, and I think that this is called, I want to say that it's just Christie Fields Beach, but I think it might actually be called the Pacific Coast Highway Sand Bypass, pedestrian only walk. It's it's got the same sort of like functional straightaway sort of look. Currently walking down it, so it's it's definitely a travelable route, as are a couple other few beach goers. Yeah, it's a yeah, no, it's funny. I think it's peaceful out here. There's the Golden Gate Bridge spanning the Golden Gate. There's the top portion of the middle of the San Francisco Bay. There is the Palace of Fine Arts. And behind there is the large serpentinite cliff above Marshall Beach. It's on the whole other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm kind of just looking at it from this side. There is Ford Point. You can't see it. I can't see it. I just know it's there. No, I'm joking. I think that building there is might be the warming hut. Yeah, I think that is the warming hut. That's where Amelia Earhart and her fellow peers in the aviation, early days would huddle into for the shelter from the bitter temperatures way out here on the windy tip of the peninsula. A national recreation area with a cool little sort of gift shop, sort of like a nature park, or a national park shop sort of cool thing with some really cool, you know, San Francisco and other national park also souvenir sort of things. Uh, and then behind that, there's like the garrison that is actually Fort Point. You can't see, it's like a large brick structure that is, I guess it's like a fort. It's a mini, like, sort of castle garrison sort of thing or whatever. Um, and then over here we have I forget actually. It has a specific name and like. I was just thinking of what else was I gonna point out or mention that I could see. Earhart. Earhart. Oh yeah, because that's right. Maybe like the place they would land airplanes back in the olden days, because or when there was props on airplanes and like all the old school style of aviation. Um, you know, from landing in here, something like that. It'd be pretty cool. Definitely old school. The pedestrian sand bypass. You should be able to set the distance at which you get the focal range when you're using this a smartphone. It's funny because if you hold it closer to your eye, the lens on the front camera changes in focus, and as you pull it away, it reflects like focus. At least in the Facebook app it does. No, excuse me, sorry, not Facebook. At least in this YouTube app it does. It's kind of interesting. You think you kind of can adjust it by bringing it really close to your face and then pulling it slightly away a little bit and a little bit, because it does adjust off of that. It must have more than one beneficial effect, which is a strange thing for something to have necessarily. Normally something with any sort of beneficial effect and no deleterious effect will qualify as being included in something. This sort of strange fringe detail must at least have the effect of increasing the functional access that a person has to the lens and focusing it via a gesture, so to say. And also it also must increase the user experience of it being like a physically adjustable, or like nuance sensitive photographic piece of equipment. Strange. those are both good things. The only bad thing that the only maybe you can get it to maybe if you like maybe if you hold on focus, it stays. Nope, it still adjusts. Double click lock on focus. No, there might be a setting AF lock or something. All I know is yeah, it's the main drawback is when you try and bring it closer to your eye to see closer on the screen, like that causes it to change focus. It's funny. Anyways, I'm going to relax here on the beach for the next couple months. Right on. Have a good night.